Hey guys, welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and today we're going to continue with the Vari Roll. And Andrew finally called me back. After we did all our last little bit of work over on the surface plate, measuring the blocks out of their home environment. I came to the conclusion that everything needed to be measured in place in its natural environment, on its axes, the way it is in natural conditions, because it affects it. So let's bring you in closer, show you what we did here, show you how we're going to measure these, because a couple of the measurement setups are a little tricky. I've already worked all that out for you, so if you need to measure your Vari Roll, you'll be able to do it. And I'm going to share with you our final conclusions on how we're going to proceed to correct this thing. All right, let's bring you in closer. Okay, well, I've got you zoomed in on the Vari Roll here. We've got our tailstock installed, and most of all, we've got our headstock. We'll call this the headstock. These are the ones with the V-grooves in them that we were measuring over on the plate in the last video. This one's installed on the V-ways and on the ball V-ways. So this thing just floats. But what we want to happen, we want both of these to come into play and be center by center. And if you remember, this block was 18 thousandths bigger than this block. But honestly, that doesn't matter. This one needs, clearance down the side to run on those ball bearing V-ways. If you remember back, make sure you watch my very first one, because I showed the balls and them falling out of their little V-ways. But you get an idea how this block rides on there. I don't have any of the springs or anything on it. The springs provide a little bit of back tension and keep a little tension on your indicator. That's what the springs are for. But right now it's just sitting on the balls, so that thing just literally floats. I'm barely touching it. But let me get set up a couple of different ways and show you how Andrew and I measured it and the conclusions we came to. Okay, I got you a little zoomed in there. You're on my best test tense indicator, and as you can see, we drop off and we climb right back on, and we're getting a repeatable number. Let's see if I can back that away. Maybe I can back it away this way. All right. I know everybody likes to start off at 0. Gotta be on 0. Okay, now as you can see by my hand here, I'm pulling this block towards me. I'm zeroed. I want to push it away from me in the way. That is almost 3 thousandths. It's like I'm going to call that about a 2.8. Pull it back. Zero's nice, and as you can see, if I traverse it nice and parallel, it's following the way so that our sides are nice and parallel. And if I push it the other way, away from me, and go back to our 2.8 or whatever, and I run it back and forth there. Now we're on the opposite corner of it. It's running nice and parallel there too. But when this thing gets tightened in there, this bolt right here has to go in this hole, goes into a kind of a T-nut down on the bottom, and when you tighten it, it's going to twist this thing like that every single time. Every single time you tighten that bolt, it's going to twist that thing inside there. So we came to the conclusion that this tailstock is probably not original to this Vari Roll. This was someone just grabbed the tailstock and said parts is parts, and threw it in there and thought that would be okay, and apparently it's not. So we've got quite a bit of play in there. There's still another test we can do. We're going to take and put gauge pins in both of these. These are 2 equal length, well, they're not gauge pins, they are dowels, or hardened ground dowels. I checked them with a mic. They're spot on. They're within the millionths of each other, so they're better than a tenth. So we're going to take both of them and put them in each one of these, and then we're going to sweep across both of these with it in this position and in the cocked position, what it's doing there. But this one on the ballway doesn't have any. It's riding on 2 V grooves with a ball. It's going to get centered. It's going to fall into place and run, longitudinal to the tool, no matter what. So I don't think there's anything needs to be done with that, but we sure need to give this some attention. So let me get these 2 dowel pins set up here and here, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to measure that. That's going to be a little bit different setup. We're going to use a gauge block, 1-inch gauge block, and we're going to use a Starrett adjustable parallel to make to build us a sled back here, so we can push our indicator back and forth on the axes of the tool. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to get this set up. Let me get these dowels installed, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to measure it. Okay, it took me a few minutes to get this thing set up, but let me explain to you what we got. Magnetic Noga base, adjustable parallel here, 1-inch gauge block here, and basically I expanded the parallel until it took up all the slack. I put 1 drop of oil in that. What I've created here is kind of a sled. This thing just sleds straight back and forth over the ways. And what I can do here is I can put my makeshift sled that follows the axes of the machine. And the only way I can make it work is to turn the gauge sideways. Don't worry, I'll move the camera in a second. But right there, I'm getting a 0 reading on that pin. So I've got it dialed in on 0 on this pin. Now all I need to do is check this pin. So I take my entire sled, move it back until I reach my highest high on that one. And right now I'm 2 thousandths off, but if I pull it away, I'm only about 1 thou off. I push, and now I'm 4 thousandths off. So that play inside of that tailstock here is wreaking havoc on me, and I've come to the conclusion that that's what needs to get fixed. And to take that side-to-side play out of there, when I go back to my sled and move it up to this guy here, if I bring me up to double check that I'm coming back to 0, which I am, and then I'm right now I'm rocking this on the ball. This is riding on the ball ways. I'm rocking it this way, seeing if I can get any movement out of it. I'm just taking both thumbs and moving them side to side, and I can't get any movement on those ball ways. So that's a clean axis. It runs clean with no side to side slop. Those ball ways riding in those, or those balls riding in those V grooves, they just find their natural center and they just want to stay there. So I think the majority of our problem is right in this tailstock. And like I said, when I talked to Andrew, he said, I don't know, we just picked up a tailstock and threw it in there. We don't know if it's the right one or not. So it's not a matter of one size fits all. I'm pretty sure that these things are handmade, and then the tailstocks are matched to the tool. But we've got a solution. But let me move the camera. I'll show you what I'm looking at here, and maybe you can get a better view of my sled that I'm using over there. But like I say, just an adjustable parallel, a gauge block, and 1 drop of oil, and that follows that this way very nicely, the axes of that way. All right, let me get you in closer on that gauge and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I got you focused in on the gauge, and we're on the on the headstock with the ball ways. I'm just going to move the ball ways back, and I'm going to try to do it as gently as possible. So there you are on 0, just running that ball way back and forth. You can see what I mean. This is the only way I can get the gauge to go in there sideways. So I got to tilt you guys sideways to read that. Okay, so that's that one. Now we're going to measure the tailstock. I'm just going to take my sled straight down where I know my tailstock can be slid up. And right there you saw it touch. Let me get back. They were about 2 thousandths tall. Let me push it over. There you go. So there I shoved it all the way that way, and I got a total of 4 thousandths off. If I pull it away, I'm still sitting proud. It's still tall by about 1.4 is what I'm seeing. Yeah, 1.3, 1.4. So a little over 1,000th. But if I shove that tailstock over with my thumb, boom, we're seeing 4.1. So that's major. All right, let's zoom you out and show you how we're going to correct it. Okay, well, we know our tailstock is loose. You can hear it. So a couple things we can do. First thing we could do, most obvious, is take a chunk of 01, make us a new one. There it is. It's hiding in there somewhere. So we could do that. Then I started talking to Andrew a little bit. I said, hey, you know, they use it on machines all the time. Why don't we use a little bit of turkite and see what it does? It offers a little bit of stability, and you know, it's going to be a little more forgiving to thermal changes. When this thing is sitting here hot or cold or whatever, it'll still maintain a zero clearance. And he said, well, how would you do that? And I said, well, in the side, I said, well, machine a pocket in the side of each one of the tailstock here, machine a pocket in, drop in some turkite and scrape it to fit. He's like, well, how you gonna machine that? That's a hardened block. So I got some carbide. So we're gonna come in with carbide, maybe a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8, and basically just cut a button. Create a pocket here, 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 and here. And then you take the turkite, cut it with a gasket maker, make a little circle, and glue it into each hole. Now the thinnest turkite you can buy is 16 thousandths. So, you know, we already saw about a 4 thousandths variation. So we want to stick up proud. So we got some room to work, maybe 5 thousandths per side. So we'll cut some very shallow pockets on 4 sides, glue in the turkite, scrape it in, and then, and only then, will we grind our centers to match after we know we've got a good fit here. We know the problem doesn't exist in the head. The head moves straight. That's not saying that the head is perfectly centered, but we can fix that with a grind. We could grind on this V-groove all day, and that play in that tailstock is going to kill us. Turns out that when Andrew said this thing was off by a mile, he was talking tenths. So it wasn't a few thousandths, it was a few tenths it was off. He was measuring some very, very small gears. So we're looking to put some turkite buttons in the side of this. I don't know of anyone that's ever done that. Don't know whether it's going to work. We don't have anything to lose. I've got a piece of 01 there. If it doesn't work, we'll just make a new tailstock, you know. But you know what? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I've got turkite coming in. I've got some Loctite Black Max coming in, and we're going to cut some buttons out of turkite, and then we're going to cut some button holes in the side of this hardened block and drop in 4 turkite buttons and scrape them to fit. And that's going to be our project. So we've got a very clear direction forward. I'd like to thank you guys for watching and sticking with me through all this. I know this is kind of a long road and probably boring to some of you guys, but you know, after a couple conversations with Andrew, we decided we want to try it. And I'm a little, after doing my surface grinder, I'm a little more comfortable working with turkite now. Phil taught me an awful lot. So I think we're going to try that and see how turkite's going to work on taking up the slack in this little tailstock. Like I said, thank you guys for watching, and come back next time when my turkite comes in, we get those buttons installed and get them scraped to fit.